So first of all, I want to start by welcoming you all again. Sorry. I really, truly can't tell you how happy I am that so many people have been able to join us, both in person and online, especially because, as many of you know, the Forum for Open Research is my second baby, as Cameron reminded me last night. And when I first came up with the idea and proposed it to him, I really never envisaged it would grow so big and so fast. I mean, here we are in a fairly large ballroom, and we've had ministers of state here, we've got UN Secretary Generals later, we've had university presidents and directors of leading research organizations, as well as key open science advocates from research communities across the Arab states, and stakeholders from many of the major research global open science nonprofits. And that doesn't even include the hundreds of people who have joined us from across the world online. So on a personal and professional level, I am therefore absolutely thrilled to learn that so many people are actually interested in this vital topic and willing to engage in the important discussions and debates that we will be having over the next 3 days. And I really do hope we'll be able to share constructive insights and identify some of the key challenges.
Well, we cannot hear you quite well, actually. I don't know if you...
Sorry, I'll talk even louder. I'm worried I'm going to overpower you in the room, so I apologize. But anyway, I really do hope we'll be able to share constructive insights and identify the key challenges and priorities that need to be addressed to ensure the advancement of open science policies and practices across the Arab region. Not least because recent heartbreaking events have really highlighted how important it is that the sharing of information, of knowledge, the building of transparency and trust are embedded in the foundations of everything we do, both within the scientific community and the wider regional community, to ensure a safe, strong, and sustainable future for everyone. And I hope we can work together to take some additional steps in that direction during the next 3 days. So, what is F.O.R.M and who are we? Hopefully, as we've been operating for about a year now, some of you will be fairly familiar with who we are and what we do. So for those of you who have heard me speak before, it's okay. I really won't judge if you take a little nap, at least for the first part. However, for those of you who maybe aren't so familiar with the Forum for Open Research and our activities and our achievements over the past 12 months, I'll just give a brief overview of our mission and vision, where we are now, and more importantly, where we want to go next. So the Forum for Open Research in MENA is a non-profit membership organization that currently operates as an independent project under the banner of the Knowledge E Foundation, which itself operates as the philanthropic arm of Knowledge E. And I appreciate this might sound a bit complicated, but hopefully this slide sort of helps clarify things a little, though I'm afraid part of it's blocked behind a chair. At F.O.R.M, we believe that open science is vital for the socio-cultural and economic development of the Arab world, and we therefore want to place accessibility at the heart of scientific and research ecosystems and encourage the evolution of a strong, sustainable open research infrastructure. Therefore, our mission is to support the advancement of open science practices in research institutions and research communities across the Arab region by facilitating the exchange of actionable insights and the development of practical policies. And I'll just say here as well that the use of MENA in our name is temporary. We are investigating alternative options that use Arab instead, but we believe F.O.R.M is a collaborative endeavor, and therefore the decision about our name and identity should be made by the wider community, not by a single individual. And if you attend next year's event, we'll probably put it to a vote at the AGM, and all of you can tell us what you think. Now, the first point to consider is, why do we exist? After all, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of initiatives and organizations championing open science across the world, and more are being founded every single day. So why do we exist? What do we offer that makes us different? And what specific needs do we fulfill that no other organization is addressing? To answer these questions, I want to take a couple of steps back and look at the region as a whole. Because at F.O.R.M, we believe that although economic circumstances and available human, physical, and digital capacities vary widely across the Arab region, as a whole, we have the resources and capability to play a pivotal role in the global transition towards more accessible, sustainable, and inclusive research and education models, to be at the forefront of this global shift in the way research ecosystems operate. However, despite strong government mandates to develop the region as a research hub and to promote Arab language research to the global scholarly community, and a lesser but still tangible impetus towards open science in particular, there remain a number of challenges impeding the advancement of open science across the Arab states. In October 2022, many of you are here, so thank you for attending that. We hosted a special strategy session in Cairo to examine the state of open science implementation amongst research communities in the region. During the session, 5 key pan-regional challenges were identified. The first challenge is language. This includes the lack of approved open science terms in the Arab language, the language barriers, which can make it difficult for Arab stakeholders to engage with global communities and resources, and the lack of right-to-left functionality in many key digital solutions and platforms. The second challenge was awareness. This includes the lack of accessible, localized educational resources, the limited understanding of the benefits of open science amongst many stakeholder groups, and the need to address the mistrust and misapprehension caused by predatory publishing and an over-high open access publishing charge. The third challenge concerned policies, which included both the negative consequences of policies emphasizing university rankings and the need for more robust national and institutional policies explicitly promoting open science activities and outputs. The fourth challenge was capacity, which covers both the need to develop essential capabilities in key stakeholder groups and the importance of ensuring adequate physical and digital infrastructure frameworks being put in place. The final challenge was, inevitably, funding. Of course, challenges vary from institution to institution and country to country, but during the strategy session, these were identified as the core, broad categories. It's not moving. There we go. In addition, a number of solutions were identified which would help regional stakeholders address and overcome these challenges. The solutions included improving awareness, building partnerships, establishing supportive policies, creating accessible resources, developing requisite infrastructures, capacity building, and ensuring financial support. However, this is a very top-level approach, which obviously lacks the specificity and nuance which we, at F.O.R.M, needed to define our core goals and key objectives. Therefore, we decided to use the outcomes of the strategy session to help narrow our focus to 6 key priorities aligned with UNESCO's broader open science recommendations, but reflecting the specific needs of the Arab region's research communities. These are establishing open science terminologies in Arabic and demonstrating the value and benefits to the community, encouraging cross-regional dialogue, knowledge sharing, and collaborative partnership opportunities, developing supportive national and institutional policies and incentivization strategies, ensuring necessary human and digital capacity needs are identified and developed, empowering stakeholders via the development of tools and resources suitable for this region, including Arab language documentation and right-to-left digital functionality, and finally, really building and maintaining that trust in open science and encouraging stakeholder engagement. By focusing on these strategic priorities even, we were able to identify how and where we could best support the advancement of open science in the Arab region, answering those questions I asked earlier. Why do we exist? What do we offer that makes us different? And what specific needs do we fulfill that no other organization is addressing? Because while many Arab institutions and organizations are global leaders in promoting the production and dissemination of open resources, for example, KAUST and King Abdulaziz universities in Saudi Arabia, the Qatar National Library, the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, and our host partner, Khalifa University, there is a clear need for something more focused on the specific needs of research communities and research institutions just starting out on their journey towards openness. Therefore, our core focus is on empowering libraries, higher education institutions, research councils, and policymakers to collaborate on activities, projects, and resources that promote engagement with and the generation of open resources in their myriad forms, enabling them to better serve the needs of their local research communities. And our broad goals are to promote and support the evolution of open science ecosystems in the research communities and institutions across the region, to generate accessible, localized resources relating to the development and implementation of open science policies and practices in these communities and institutions, to encourage and facilitate collaborative community partnerships and cooperation between members, and to champion the development of right-to-left infrastructures and key functionalities. A catalyst for positive action, we seek to work with key stakeholders to develop and implement a pragmatic program supporting the advancement of open science by building the resources, the knowledge base, the skill sets, and the organizational structures together with the regional community. As part of this, we have 3 core pillars of activity. The first focuses on developing accessible localized resources, ranging from guidelines, training materials, and benchmarking evaluation frameworks to a dedicated open science Arab glossary, and a bilingual journal focusing on open science activities in the region. Secondly, we have our community development pillar, which includes free online workshops and webinars each month, offering practical guidance on key aspects of open science. The newly launched Slack community, which we mentioned earlier, and you should all have signed up for by now, to encourage open discussion and knowledge exchange across the region, and working groups to collaborate on key projects. And finally, we have the annual F.O.R.M, which brings together leading international experts and key regional stakeholders to exchange ideas and strategies. It works. Our hope is that F.O.R.M will grow into an international alliance of higher education institutions, research libraries, and other research communities based across the region. And I'm delighted to announce that we have just welcomed our 3rd full member, the Libyan Authority for Scientific Research, whose president is somewhere. Welcome, thank you. And we are in talks with 5 other organizations who are also keen to join. In addition, we are extremely lucky and grateful to have the support of the global open science community and are proud to partner with various organizations, not only those listed here who have already officially joined, but those who will be announcing their partnerships in the next few months. Membership is institutional and, crucially for all of you, free. And all we ask is that member institutions promote open science practices internally and designate a representative to work with us. So I do hope you all encourage your institutions to join. Of course, we are still a very young initiative with a network of just over 2,000 individuals from 74 countries. The Arab states currently represent 61% of this network. However, what we find particularly interesting is that we're also seeing strong growth of awareness in our activities in African nations who are not member states of the Arab League, and Asia and Europe also account for a further 12% and 11% respectively, demonstrating the value of our activities for people beyond our core stakeholder group. We've had some really huge achievements since we launched this time last year, starting with 1,000 delegates, over 1,000 delegates even, attending last year's annual F.O.R.M in person and online from 48 countries. And I want to say at this point a huge thank to my colleague Nahil, who is somewhere, possibly even out of the room at this point, and to our advisory board, and to everyone who has supported and collaborated with us over the past 12 months. We really, really couldn't have done this without all of you, so thank you. And now I just want to finish my session by looking at a couple of things we've done in a bit more detail and then outline our plans for 2024 and beyond. We delivered 7 community development events, starting with a highly successful collaboration with the International Science Council, some of whose representatives are here today, on preprints in February. Other events have addressed copyright, predatory practices, the globalization of research, transparent peer review, and open access publishing. And we've partnered with various leading organizations, including the Directory of Open Access Journals, ORCID, PKP, Coalition S, and the list goes on. And I think it's fair to say everyone's really enjoyed what we're doing so far. On average, each event gets around 300 attendees. And as you can see, we've had some really terrific feedback. Some of the nicest things are behind people's heads, but you can see them later. And importantly, 96% of attendees found the events valuable and have requested more of them. And even better, 97% of attendees have found the events effective and are already starting to apply what they learned in these events in their workplaces. In addition to the community development activities, we also formed a pan-regional working group to develop a robust Arabic open science glossary for education institutions and research communities specifically. This has just been published and is now freely available on our website. And I really want to take this opportunity to thank all the contributors who worked on this valuable project for their hard work and insights. While we appreciate that the multifaceted nature of the Arabic language means that some translations and interpretations might vary within different regions and communities, we hope that this glossary will provide a useful starting point. And I am particularly delighted that it's already actually being used by nonprofit organizations and open science advocates across the world, and we'll continue to be expanding and updating it to encompass new terminologies and developments in the field of open science in the coming years. We will also shortly be launching a new bilingual open access journal, focusing on the role, implementation, and impact of open science policies and practices in research institutions within this region. And we're very excited about that, and more news will be coming out in the next couple of months. Unfortunately, it's a little busy with F.O.R.M, so we're a little behind on that one, but it will be out soon. And finally, as I mentioned before, our next big project over the next few months is to develop a set of benchmarks and valuation frameworks for the region's research institutions to better track and monitor their own open science policies and practices and the developments in that going forwards. And the Slack community as well, which I've sort of skipped over there, so sorry about that. As you can see, overall, our focus at this stage is very much on development, on building the resources, building the membership, building the organizational structures, and really supporting the growth of that broader community. But this is just the first stage of a much longer process. Sorry, I've actually just skipped a page. Ignore me. Ultimately, everything that we're doing comes back to those strategic priorities I mentioned earlier, helping us to advance and support the development and implementation of open science policies and practices in research institutions and communities across the region. But as I mentioned, our plans don't stop there. So we have all of these amazing open science academic programs that we're going to be doing, but also longer term, what we're trying to do is this is our roadmap, our impact framework. So we're going to put in resources, have activities, improve outputs and gain members, and hopefully develop the capacities and capabilities and foster collaborations within the region with a view to advancing that open science at the end. However, as I mentioned, this is just the first stage of a much longer process, because as we all know, the transition towards more open, accessible, inclusive, and sustainable research ecosystems takes time. It requires deep-seated socio-cultural adjustments at every single stakeholder level and requires a profound shift in political values and direction from the highest governmental levels. Ultimately, we believe more could and should be done, not only by individuals and individual institutions, but collaboratively as a region. And so it's really with great pleasure that I will finish now and hand over to our regional panel, some of whom are in the room, some of whom will be online, to talk about this regional collaborative process in more detail. I won't be having a Q&A, but if you have any questions or want to discuss membership, just grab me. We'll be around for the next few days. And thank you once again for listening. I do genuinely, sincerely hope you will consider joining us, either at events or as members, and work with us towards a more open Arab region and a more knowledgeable world.
Thank you for leaving some time for us. Good speech. So now we are in a strategy discussion panel. Actually, I'd like first to introduce the speakers, the panelists who will be with us. I'm not sure who is connected yet, but we should have, at least myself, I am Yusuf Turman, the Managing Director of the Arab States Research and Education Network. So we have, the panel should include His Excellency Professor Amr Izzat Salama. He is the Secretary General of the Association of Arab Universities, and he was the former Minister of Higher Education in Egypt. So he is in line with us. Welcome, Professor Amr. We cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Now we can.
Yes. Thank you very much, and I'm here.
Yes, we've been yesterday together, but unfortunately we are now virtual. So, but I think we'll have a good discussion with you. Thank you for joining. We have His Excellency Professor Abdel Majid bin Amara. He's the Secretary General of the Federation of Arab Scientific Research Council. He's with us on the podium. So welcome. Thank you for joining. We should have Shami, I think. Yeah, so let me welcome Professor Stini Shami. She's the Director General of the Arab Council for Social Sciences in Lebanon. So welcome, Professor Stini Shami.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We should have others, but since that they are not joining, Dr. Hind Attir and Dr. Heather Joseph, she is not joining. So, and Professor Mahmoud Sakir. So we are 4 will actually 3 panelists, and I should be moderating the discussions. I don't like to be a moderator. I like to be a speaker. So I'll try to make the opportunity to speak something which is very quick. Let me start by the efforts. What is happening in our region? There are efforts that they are scattered. They are not joined together, and maybe some of them are not up to the what is open science about. So there are, and I have to tell you a funny story. It's F.O.R.M last year. Last year, F.O.R.M was in October, I think the same time. At the same time, and in the same city, there was another event, and regional event also in open science. So something that need to be coordinated. We need to have umbrella on this, and rather than have individual efforts or efforts that are duplicated here and there. So this is the first goal that I want to put in for the discussion. The other thing is also what is it? What is open science, and who is doing open science? Actually, I see many things. I have my slides, which I did not want to share. Many organizations, but who is really doing open science? Most of them are talk about open access and sometimes open education and even open research. Open research is not open science. Open research is something good, part of open science, but open science is much wider. And I like actually in the speeches today in this morning, they said science rather than open science. So science, we want to conduct science, and we want to have open science as the means and mechanism to support the development. And I like the 2 examples that have been mentioned this morning. COP28. COP28 is about science, about research, about open science. We need to make data available to the research. It's not only open the journals or publications, but we want to open the data. When we talk about climate, we see the satellite images, the sensors, the observatories, a lot of data which is not publication or journal, and it's about real data that supports the researchers. For example, a group on Earth observation that who are working on making the data available for researchers to do for decision makers and so on. I don't want to negate my speech. And the other thing that also His Excellency Sheikh Ahmed Al-Fanasi mentioned, science explicitly. We talk about science, then we want to go for open science to support the science development. I will not. I will stop speaking, but I now start with the panel. The UNESCO. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm not well organized. I would like to thank F.O.R.M first, Knowledge E, and thank UNESCO for inviting me to that. I'm not organized because I used to be speaker, not a moderator. However, the strategy panel discussion for today, I see that UNESCO have, let's say, 5 priority areas, which are open science policies and the strategies, open science financing and incentives, open science infrastructure, open science capacity building, and open science monitoring framework. So let me start by
Hello, where did you go, Dr. Yusuf? We cannot hear you from here.
Okay, I'm taking down because now I will moderate the discussions. So let me start by speaking about the policy, and my questions mainly to Professor His Excellency Professor Am Salama and the Professor Abdul Majid bin Amara. Where do you see the necessary policies and roadmaps that would be necessary for the academia and the universities to contribute to the open science for the research development in our region? So can we start with His Excellency Professor Am?
Yes, well, thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf, for the introduction. And well, let me first thank Knowledge E Foundation, UNESCO Cairo office, and of course, Khalifa University for organizing such a panel. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for inviting the Association of Arab Universities and myself to be part of this important panel, actually. Well, yes, of course, the main policies and the strategies ought to address the 4 priority areas. Who will and whom to and how to make available to offer financing and incentives, of course, infrastructure, capacity building, and performance monitoring frame. This tier should be handled by the governments and the senior management of universities and research institutes. The Association of Arab Universities, actually, in this regard, would offer a capacity building structure to the universities to foster the importance of the open science among the Arab higher education institutes and support establishing an Arab cloud for the Arab region that would support this motion. And we are ready to host such structure as the association, with a collaboration with concerned stakeholders in this region as ASREN, for example. The second tier of policies and strategies would be to first identify the institutional internal obstacles and challenges in these 4 priority areas and develop the necessary policies and strategies to address these challenges. This is my introduction here, what I would like to say in this point.
Thank you, Professor Amr. Now let's speak with His Excellency, Dr. Abdel Majid.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Yusuf, the moderator of this very important session. Dear members of this high-level panel, distinguished delegations, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my special thanks to the organizers of this forum for this kind invitation. And my special thanks go to all from United Arab Emirates, land of hospitality and generosity, and also land of excellence in science and innovation, as confirmed by the last published rankings, such as Times Higher Education 24 and the GII Global Innovation Index 23. It is really an honor for me to address all these distinguished participants and online viewers of this session. First of all, let me please enlighten you briefly about our organization, the Federation of Arab Scientific Research Councils, which was established about 50 years ago by the Arab ministers of higher education and scientific research under the umbrella of the League of Arab States. So FASRIC involves all the decision makers in the field of scientific research in the Arab countries. It became an active member of Economic and Social Council of the League of Arab States and also an active member of the Higher Coordination Committee of the League of Arab States. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to emphasize that today many Arab countries have a huge potential in scientific research field, advanced infrastructures, highly cited scientists, well-ranked universities, but in terms of alignment with Open Science UNESCO recommendations, we still have a lot of work ahead of us. Let me first underline the large gap between the state of the art of higher education and scientific research in the Arab countries. And I suggest that our initiatives take this reality into account. In my opinion, we need today, more than any time before, a large-scale initiative. Indeed, in many countries, even the awareness and explanation of open science is still untackled. Also, the access to internet is still limited in many Arab countries. I would like also to highlight that in addition to open access for publications and open libraries, we highly recommend to address the following. First, open education resources. Second, open software resources. 3, open hardware. I mean, providing an open access to high performance calculator, for example, resources, e-labs, and so on. Also, we have to address open research, data, and financing. At the end of my talk, I would like to raise the following 3 important issues. The first issue is about collaboration between Arab countries in the field of open science, which is becoming a must in my point of view. The second issue is about the bi and multilateral collaboration in the field of scientific research between Arab countries. I think that is a high time to bridge this gap. The last issue is the mobility of researchers in the Arab region. Till now, the mobility of researchers and students between Arab countries faces many problems. At a time when nations have no other option but to be united and build together a common agenda to shape a better future. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable speakers and participants, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Ram. Can I extend the quote for Dr. Titini? The same question on policies. How can go with the policies further in for open science? You are, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's good. Go ahead, please.
Yes. So thank you very much for the organizers, Khalifa University Knowledge Foundation and UNESCO. UNESCO has particularly been a good partner to us at the Arab Council for the Social Sciences, both the Beirut office, the Cairo office, and Paris, in fact. So I'm very grateful to be here and part of this panel. And thank you for enabling me to join online. The situation in Lebanon is not one where travel is a good idea right now. So one wants to stay close to office and to family and loved ones. About policies, we are an NGO, we are not a university, we are not a national organization, but I can certainly give you our point of view. As I share with my fellow panelists the view that we certainly need to revisit old policies and create new policies. We need large-scale interventions, and this is something I am sure that will be a topic of discussion throughout this conference and this forum. Large-scale interventions, but not necessarily interventions that are top-down or that are centralized. For me, the issue is how the different components of the system that we envision, this large-scale system across the Arab region that we envision, that brings together, this complex ecosystem of knowledge production we have in the region. So we have universities, we have research centers, we have research NGOs, we have think tanks, we have private companies. It is a very complex ecosystem of knowledge production at the moment in the region, much more complex than 20 or 30 years ago. So how do we bring together all these components into an effective collaborative system? Part of it has to be done in a centralized top-down way, but I think part of it has to be done through each entity doing what it does best and coming together effectively to coordinate and to collaborate. And this is easier said than done, for sure. So we, as an NGO which works on promoting knowledge production and research in the social sciences and humanities, and I want to also thank you doubly for including me in this panel, because the voice of social sciences and humanities is often not present in these kinds of discussions. And the UNESCO toolkit and UNESCO documents make clear that the social sciences and humanities are part of this conversation, an important part of this conversation. So on a policy level, from the perspective of social sciences and humanities, we find, first of all, a lack of forums and institutions that bring us together across the region. Now, I want to emphasize that this was not always the case. That 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, there were such forums, there were such networks, there were such collaborations, but these have weakened tremendously over the past 20 years or so. And so we feel, as the Arab Council for Social Sciences, as a regional network, we feel that a lot of our work is, in fact, community building and network building and bringing people together across disciplines, across countries, across languages. I also want to just touch on the issue of multilingualism and Arabic English, which was mentioned by Emily in the introduction, and suggest that this has to be a central, multilingualism has to be central to any kind of policies that are developed, and it should be seen as a strength of the region rather than a problem. Okay, the problem is not that people work in Arabic. It is a strength that people work in Arabic, they work in English, they work in French, they work in many, many languages in this region. And often they communicate across these languages. These are not silos. And where they are silos, if knowledge is only produced in English or only produced in Arabic, that is something to try and overcome and create synergies. But often there is communication across these languages. So we have to look at multilingualism as a strength in any kind of policy. And finally, I would say on a policy level that we do see, especially in our fields and disciplines that we work in, the weakness of universities and especially national public universities, that they are under-resourced and need a huge sort of investment and interest in rethinking disciplinary boundaries, rethinking curriculum, rethinking pedagogical methods, and rethinking research. Something which perhaps I'll have time to talk about more in later on in this panel is the way the energies of most of the research energies of the faculty and even students is going towards consultancies for outside entities rather than curiosity-driven research or research that is located in the university specifically. So again, I mean, we're not a policy institute, but this is where we see the needs for policy, sort of the multilingualism, bringing together top-down but also bottom-up strategies in order to enhance collaboration, and finally a sort of rethinking of university teaching and research. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's first of all, I'm happy that you are there, and to know such organization, I'm not aware of it, and really look forward at the ASEAN level where I am. I look forward to collaborate with you on this. Thank you very much for your intervention. I know that Nazar will have something to say now, but we would postpone it until the end of the session so that we can about this. Now, it has been mentioned in a way or another, the mechanism. If you look at the other regions, they are deploying something like in Europe they call European Open Science Cloud.
Cannot hear you quite well, Dr.
Okay. Okay, let me repeat. Now, the second round of question or discussion is about, if you look at the other regions around us, they are starting something which is, for example, in Europe, it's called European Open Science Cloud. Do you still hear me, or do you have a problem?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the second round of discussion now is about, I want to explore as long as what's happening around the world, especially the region around us. If you look at Europe, they have established the European Open Science Cloud as a means and mechanisms and provision of tools and provision of calls, provision of services, and so on. That's in Europe, and I've been part of the African Open Science Platform also, which is another platform that they have established for the African level, where they want also to see how they can provide services towards open science and making so on. What do you think? Is there a need in our region, and what is how can we go further in this aspect? Can we start again with the Professor?
Yes, well, thank you. Well, thank you. Yes, I heard you quite well. Yes, now. Thank you. Yes, of course. Connectivity and the cloud hosting is vital in this as an effective means, actually, to enhance regional science and research collaboration. Making sure that the cloud will have the capabilities of providing platform tools, applications, and other cloud computing services to the Arab science community, together with establishing a cloud-based services catalog to facilitate access through one federal platform. This requirement should be expanded, actually, to include the regional harvesting services to the member countries and institutions to support the creation of FAIR-based open data repositories to be integrated in the proposed regional cloud services. Well, as I have said earlier, we at the association here are fully supporting having such an Arab clouds actually for the open science for benefit of our beneficiaries, such that securing stability and regular connectivity to this cloud. To do so, I think we have to collaborate with some organizations that would support establishing such a platform that provides cloud services, as for example, ASRIN in cooperation with the Pan-European Research and Education Network, and the support of the European Commission and some of other funding organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really very encouraging, actually, and you know, especially that you highlighted how we can go for that. Dr. Abdelmajid, do you have any comment on this?
Thank you. As mentioned this morning, open science means working together. But working together today is becoming different. We are working together online. So we need resources to work together, especially cloud computing, cloud storage, and sharing resources. We have a very advanced HPC, high performance calculator, in some Arab countries. For example, here in Emirates or in Morocco or in Egypt, we have a very good infrastructure, but it could be very important to share these or to give access to these capabilities to other researchers from Arab countries, because working together is becoming different today. It is not like 10 years or 20 years ago. So I agree with this idea to have an Arab cloud or an Arab system allowing or paving the way to share resources and clouds that exists in some universities in the Arab countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Satini, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, thank you. Obviously, I totally agree that the importance of connectivity and the importance of an Arab cloud sounds wonderful. The role of social sciences, humanities is always to say things are more complicated than we think. So I will play that role. You know, the technical capacity, building the technical capacity, the technical sort of aspects is essential, but is not enough. What we see in our work is, as has been mentioned by the previous speaker, is a lack of collaboration, a lack of communication, a lack of community. I see the word scientific community is repeated many times in the agenda of this meeting, and I was very happy to see that, because we see our role as building community, and then the tools come to sort of enable that community. But without the community, the tools by themselves are not effective. Without the tools, the community cannot be effective. So you have to work on both levels. You have to work on the technical level and enhancing capacity and ability of people to interact with the technical aspects, but also if you don't have community in the first place, or you're not working to create communities as well, the use will be, you know, not very effective. I remember back in the 90s when online interaction between researchers first became sort of really a reality. There was a lot of research, I don't know if it has continued, by psychologists and others on sort of online interaction versus in-person interaction. And I remember very interesting research showing that the more people interacted online, the more they wanted to meet in person. And I sort of, I would like to look up and see what has happened to that kind of research, given the explosion, and especially during COVID. You know, we all grew to appreciate the fact that we could interact online. I mean, imagine COVID without Zoom or without these online tools. It would have been, it would have had an impact on knowledge production and many other things, and on combating the pandemic itself. The impact would have been much more devastating. There was at least the ability to connect and to collaborate and to work together online, even though we were isolated as individuals and countries and households. So, you know, how could anyone be against connectivity or the idea of an Arab cloud? But my one point would be that we have to be working equally hard at creating communities. And the last thing I'll say about that is that, unfortunately, we are not in a region which encourages information sharing. Researchers tend to hold their data close. They don't want to share their data. You know, so you have to build also a culture of data sharing and an appreciation that if data is shared, it becomes more valuable, rather than it's valuable if no one else knows it. I'm the only one who has this data. And so there is a real effort that needs to be made with students, particularly with the new generation of researchers, to think of data sharing as an integral part of the scientific endeavor. And again, I'm talking more from the point of view of social sciences and humanities, where we see people very reluctant to share data. We at ACSS have established a dataverse. We have, at the moment, a modest dataverse with about 140 data sets on it. Quantitative, we're also opening up to other types of data besides quantitative data. And the hardest part of this has been, it has not been the technical part. The hardest part has been convincing institutions and convincing individuals to deposit their data, even though, it can be deposited with all sorts of controls where they can have control of who sees it, who uses it, etc. But just the mere fact of depositing the data, there is a sort of barrier, a kind of cultural barrier. So, there are many, many levels that we need to be working on at the same time to make the idea of an Arab cloud a viable one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much again. Yeah, very, 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 very good intervention. And actually, you raised the issue of communities, which is my question later on discussing about the communities, which is very good. Actually, we are online. And now I think we need to also discuss now the issue is national and regional. Unfortunately, we don't have national representatives about infrastructure. So infrastructure is something that is complicated in terms of the campus level, at the national level, and also at the regional level. Maybe I can speak at the regional level, but I've been in the challenges, and I've been the monopoly, I've been in the discussions and the funding and so on. It's a really complicated issue, but we need also to address this as a challenge. It's not only for open science, it's really a challenge for the communities in general. And to have open science, it's another layer of challenge also. Can we again start with the Professor Amr on this?
Well, thank you again, Dr. Yusuf. You usually start with me, so thank you for that. I think that no government have the financial capacity actually to adopt such a project, national or regionally, together with many other open science services. And hence, there is a need actually to avail such a regional non-governmental association that can raise the necessary funds and implement all the necessary regional projects. We as the association have established an academic staff platform with more than, up till now, because it's just started weeks ago, with more than 10,000 subscribers up till now, to facilitate establishing a scientific research communities at the Arab world, and thus fostering and enhancing, adopting the open science culture among individuals, students, and organizations. Based on this, I am extending my invitation to all of you to use this important platform to get benefits from its services. Actually, we hope at our association that we can have the 250 or 45,000 faculty in the Arab universities joining this platform and starting working together in networking. Thank you very much, and let us hope that this will happen.
That's okay. Then, Dr. Stini, do you like to comment on the infrastructure?
Just to say very, very briefly that I am pleasantly surprised by how many endeavors there actually are. And I'm very pleased to hear that F.O.R.M is a membership association. I wasn't clear on that, and we'll certainly look into becoming members. I think what would be very useful is a kind of mapping of the ecosystem of who is working on open science and open data in the region. Would be sort of a first step to kind of understand the landscape. And it seems there's more than we know. We're meeting each other for the first time and learning that each of us is doing, is working on this in different ways. So it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge undertaking, and honestly, I leave it to people who are more expert than myself in how a regional initiative can be put together. But I would say to think of it as an ecosystem and ways of bringing together the components of this ecosystem in productive conversations would be a step. I mean, if you think of the World Wide Web, it's not obviously one entity. It is all of these different sort of initiatives that come together, and then at a certain point there's a need to regulate, and there's a need to establish policies, and a need to address ethical issues as well as technical issues. So you know, as I said before, perhaps a combination of top-down and bottom-up strategies might be the way to go regionally. But you know, you mentioned that there's no national, no representation at a national level in here. You know, without the nation, without the states buying into this, I think it will be very, very challenging, very difficult to do without buy-in by states or by an organization like the League of Arab States. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you. And again, and actually, maybe it's my topic, actually, the infrastructure and the technology, which I will not, I am a panelist. I'm not a panelist, actually, I'm a moderator, so I will not take the floor on your behalf. But yes, it has to be organized at the regional and the national level, and even at the institutional level. I know that the challenge of infrastructure comes not only at the national level, where we need a national research and education network or so, but I agree that it has to be tackled with the objective why we are here, so that we need to tackle this issue and see how we can take this further. My second round of questions about which you already started mentioning about is about the communities. Why do we need communities? For me, while working at ASRIN, I used to see that we need to know what to approach the communities, so that we need to know how to serve them in terms of technology. What technology do they need in terms of what application or so. This is, I think, a topic that we need to also to discuss and see how we can include it in our strategy for the region. So if you already started discussing or speaking about this intervention, both of you, Dr. Amr and Dr. Sini, and even also Dr. Abdelmajid mentioned that in his introduction. So if there is any comment or any advice or any observation on how we can establish the communities and take them further, so that we can have more productive research, more productive outcome for the benefit of the community or for the benefit of the globe, actually. Anyone who likes, it's open. I don't want to point to someone. Anyone likes to speak, it's welcome.
And I think, Dr. Yusuf, that we need to unify our efforts. Yeah, that's a very important thing, that we agree together to unify our efforts. And of course, we as an association, we are ready to be part of this ecosystem, of course, yes, and we'll be happy to put our hands in all who is interested in doing so.
Perfect. Thank you, Doctor.
We also, at the FASRIC, we are also ready to be a part of all the efforts to set up an organism or institution or association or increase open science in the Arab region. The only thing that increases when you share it is knowledge in different form, infrastructure, open e-learning resources, research data, papers, scientific papers. If you share these resources, it will be increased. So everyone is happy if we share our scientific resources. So we are a part of this big project to increase open science, or to set up a structure or a new structure together to increase open science in the Arab region. So,
Thank you very much. My last questions were about capacity building and tools. Yes, please.
Could I just say something about community building or creating research communities? You know, when we started, we're only 12 years old. We're not a very old organization. When we started, we said, oh, okay, so we need to see, you know, which universities in the region have social sciences and humanities, which disciplines, which departments, what degrees, etc. And we were astonished to find that there was no resource that we could go to. There is a UNESCO handbook, but there was no resource. There were websites, etc., but there was no one resource where you really could have all the information together. In order to be able to plan and strategize your work at whatever kind of work it is in the knowledge field, you have to know the field. You have to know who's out there and who's doing what, etc. So from this question, simple question, grew this big project, one of the biggest projects we have, which is to document through publicly available data sort of the landscape and infrastructure of knowledge production. So we have 5 databases. There is a point, I'm coming to it. So we have 5 databases, one on universities, one on research centers, in universities, research centers, outside universities, on periodicals, and on publishers, and we're now completing the one on libraries and so on. And there's a 5th one, which is on associations. And maybe astonishing, maybe not, we see a huge increase because we document these from date of establishment wherever we can. And you see from the 90s, a huge increase in number of universities, huge increase in number of centers, huge increase in number of periodicals, etc. But the one place where there isn't an increase is professional associations. And this points to the weakness of academic communities. We have very few professional associations operating. There are some that exist in name, but don't actually have activities. And interestingly, very few professional associations that are regional. Most are national, which is fine and important. Some are sort of sub-regional, like the Gulf Political Science Association, for example, or North African ones. But that's the one sort of element of the landscape that is not on the increase. And I think we could put a lot of attention and a lot of sort of effort in creating, you know, associations are not very difficult to establish, not very expensive to run. They run on membership fees. They have annual meetings. They are not fully fledged. They are not research centers and so on. They are simply exist to network and bring together disciplinary and interdisciplinary communities. And the other thing I would say about community is the hardest projects we have had to implement are ones where you brought the natural sciences and social sciences together. There's a real difficulty in communication. So we had one project on environmentalism, we had another project on health and well-being, And the most difficult conversations are those between the natural sciences and the social sciences. So there's a lot of work to be done in building communities. And I think it's very essential. Thank you.
I agree with you. It seems that I have to agree with you before you speak, because all what you have spoken, I agree with you. So thank you. I really appreciate you very much. Now, I think the other questions are about capacity building and expertise and tools, but it has been addressed within the interventions. So if I would like to ask the panelists to allow me to start the discussion with.
Let me say that Dr. Yusuf here before that, we in the association here, we conducted a survey, a very recent one actually, among our universities. Actually, there was 161 respondents university for this survey about open science. And we have very interesting results out of this survey. Maybe I will not take, I can, of course, share some figures with you, but let us do that later on. But we have some data which I think is going to be very helpful in this, in the matter of this capacity building matter and training, of course. So if we have time at the end of this panel, I can share some figures and some indications from this survey.
Perfect. So let's have, if there is any question in the audience to start with, and then we will resume with our panelists, kind panelists.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Mohammed Hussein. I am the Director General for Quality Assurance and Accreditation at the Ministry of Higher Education in Kurdistan Region, Iraq. First of all, good morning, everybody. Let me thank the organizers for having this conference. And I thank you, Dr. Yusuf, as a moderator, and the speakers as well, those who are joining us online from different countries. I think you touched upon an excellent point, which is Arab Cloud. This is very interesting. I like the idea. But as you know that this will be very useful for our researchers, for our PhD candidates, MA candidates, when they need the data. But as you know that this needs the help and support directly from the ministries, the government. Because for collecting the data, you can get it from the universities, maybe you face difficulties. But as you know, universities are working under the umbrella of the ministries. So if you coordinate directly with the ministries, and the ministries can give the green light to the universities to make something like the dashboard. This dashboard will be for the data collection, where we can just, all the universities in the MENA areas can just put their data there, and we can create Arab researchers team at the same time. This will reduce the duplication of efforts, reduce the time and efficiency at the same time. Sometimes X university in X country may do the analysis of the data or may do a research, while Y university is doing the same. If we will be able to make this Arab Cloud, as you have mentioned, I think we can just help all the universities to be promoted, to be enhanced at the same time. We are all working toward higher education. Remember that a part of higher education is scientific research. Very important for saving and promoting the quality of our universities to give much more attention to the research. This can be done, as I said, in collaboration between NGOs, agencies, and also the universities. In my region, I came from Kurdistan region, and we have more than 50 higher education institutions. If you have, for example, the direct link with the ministry, it's much more better to connect with 50 different universities. So having the direct link with the ministry will get you the access to all the data in these universities. This is quite right for the countries. So in this case, If we are working together, I think all the Arab countries, ministries, they are ready to do this for Arab Cloud. I myself, as the Ministry of Higher Education, Kurdistan region, will be happy to collaborate and help you with this and ask our universities to get you an access to their data collection at the same time. Thank you very much again for this important subject.
Actually, this is exactly what we want. It's collaboration. It's your expertise. It's bringing all together to serve ourselves. Anyone likes to comment on? It's a comment, not a question. It's support, I think.
It was a comment. At the same time, this can be addressed as a question.
Absolutely.
Because these esteemed people, distinguished people, actually, they have worked for the government from sometimes in the past, as we have the former minister, but they are now dealing with the NGOs. They are not part of the government anymore, but they are doing an excellent job for the Arab Cloud. I mean that if you want to do this, let's start by doing the contact with the ministries directly. I myself, I came from this part of the world. At the same time, I'm working with the Ministry of Higher Education in the federal government of Iraq, there where we have big number of universities on the country level. It's quite right for Egypt, for Lebanon, for the other countries in the MENA area. For this reason, if you want to be successful in achieving this, let's start by making contact with the ministry. It's very easy. We're not too big. Then this will be very useful for the other parts of the world. If we have a dashboard like this for the Arab Cloud data collection, then of course, all the researchers around the world will be useful. We are actually a vital area for doing the research. Our area is a very important area. Let's seize this opportunity to make the dashboard, and you can just put us in the network to do it. Okay. This is why. Thank you very much again.
It's really, I agree with you. Maybe, hold on.
Thank you very much for the comment. And, you know, being in the Arab region for all my life, I realized that everything is known to the governments, okay, what is needed and how to do it. The issue is you don't know why, when it comes to the initiative itself, the initiative is not taken. So, of course, you cannot do data collection or analytics or even work with universities unless you have the green light from the line ministers that are relevant to whatever topic it is. But the idea is there is a lot of footwork, there is a lot of initiation process that needs to take place. And that is what is needed. So you actually do the work, make assessment of what cloud server you want, what technical information is needed, what capacities, and then you go to each government and each ministry and tell them that, okay, this is a project that is coming from a quote unquote non-governmental, not-for-profit association with the help of the EU or wherever you're getting your money from. And we are ready to actually support this as a project that is going to help you at the national and the regional levels. And of course, you need to have them in sync. You have to have their full agreement to be able to move forward with the project. But for the last 20 years, who says that the government didn't know that they needed a cloud or they needed to support their researchers? I tell you one little story about the League of Arab States in 1972. Okay, when the heads of states were there, I don't know, I think it was in Jordan, and they decided that, okay, we need to support R&D, research and development. And there was a decision taken that each country has to commit 1% of their GDP. That was in 1972. My question today is asking you, how many countries do you think are spending more than 1% of GDP in the Arab region? Zilch, nothing. So somebody needs to pick up the bucket and do the footwork, and then maybe give them the gold spoon to finalize the process. And this is where we're at. What? Well, that's another story we can talk about
Okay.
on the side.
Okay.
But I
next
just wanted to
question.
clarify that he is right.
Yeah, of course.
But the problem is known,
It-
is that you have to have an initiative to move forward and bring the governments closer to where you want their constituents to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's something, the challenge that will be whatever organization, institution, or activity that we want to do is part of the challenge. It's not only what you mentioned, it's many things. We know we have been in the process of establishing the European Open Science Cloud and the African Open Science Platform, and we've been in the exercise and the challenges. What you mentioned is very important, in addition to other things that we will take into consideration. Really, thank you. Any other question?
Oh, just a moment. Well, thank you very much for this informative discussion. Well, I'll give my view as a librarian. When we say that we, at the Arab or social sciences, you have produced databases, 5 different databases that you've made about publishers, associations, periodicals. How come when I search about Arab periodicals, I don't retrieve your databases? Or I don't retrieve any lists that have been mentioned? I think it's not enough to say that you have this database or this list of associations and make it available. You have to work on delivering it to the interested people. You need to work on your websites, and maybe the dashboard that was mentioned by our colleague here is a good point as well. So it's, I mean, I am in Lebanon. This is the first time I hear about the Arab Council for Social Sciences in Lebanon. I've been searching for the Arabic periodicals. I never retrieved a list or a database about Arabic periodicals and social sciences in the Arab world. So I think you need to work better on this. It's not, are these databases, are these visible by the search engines? Or just I have to go straight to your website to find out more about these databases? Thank you.
Can I?
I think
Actually-
the question is to me. Shall I answer?
Please.
Yeah, no, I mean, the databases I mentioned are publicly available and so on, but you're perfectly right that we need to be working somehow on the algorithms so that when you search, it comes up. And this is, you know, something we have to learn how to manage better. I am equally always surprised to find out about, I mean, we are now starting to work a little bit on artificial intelligence and the ethics of using artificial intelligence in research and so on. And then I am surprised that in Lebanon, in this small country, there are actually quite a few people and individuals and institutions working on this, and I had never heard about them. So this is, I mean, you're right to criticize us for somehow not making our work more accessible, but this is the state of things, and we have to work all together to make our work more visible, to make it more accessible. And if you have the technical know-how that you can help us how to work the algorithms so that our databases come up on search engines, you know, please come visit us in Beirut and let us benefit from you. Thank you.
Any other question?
I have a comment or about this last question, and I'm speaking under the control of my friend, Professor Amro Azid Salama. We have together a project to encourage and support periodics and journals in the Arab universities to be indexed in Scopus database. This is this database in Scopus or Clarivates are the main database in the world. And it is a call here for all the Arab journals to join us to encourage these journals to be indexed in Scopus. The Arab Association of Universities has a very good deal with Scopus, and while he's while here from Scopus is here, he can say something about this very good project. And Professor Amr Aziz Salama can say something about this.
Thank you, Dr. Amigid. Of course, yes, we have this platform which we did it with Digital Commons with Elsevier company, actually to accommodate all the journals which is willing to publish on this platform, and it's open, of course. And well, this platform allows journals in Arabic or any other language actually to be published on this platform. Our agreement with Elsevier that this even we prepare this periodicals or these journals to be included in Scopus database. So we have a team here who work together with the editorial of the journals to prepare them to be included in the Scopus platform database. The project is running now for more than 4 years, and we have several journals who joined now, and I think this is it's accessible, it's open, anyone can see it and look at it. So I hope this is that more journals will join, and of course this is opens the door actually for all of us to see each other. Well, thank you, Dr. Amigid, for that.
Thank you all. Any other questions, please?
Yes, excuse me.
Ladies first.
Sorry.
I actually had a question related to all the comments that has been suggested until now. When you look at societies and institutions that are generated in Europe or in the West, they have been grown organically. In another word, it is a group of interested people within the level of the researcher that come together and say that, okay, this is what we want. When we look at the Middle East, the Arab world specifically, it is based on initiative that is with the UNESCO, that is with other entities that basically and a few researchers within the region that have seen an example that they believe that it is good and it needs to be implemented here, or a cry for the government to basically arrange this and work on it. My question is, where do we miss this organic growth of an institution that ensures a link between the masses that are involved and need to be involved in the process and the entities that are sitting there? Because from what I see with the explosion of the internet and the connection, this is actually a problem that is increasing rather than decreasing. You being involved, you are talking about different entities that you don't know about within your countries and outside your countries. Imagine us, how lost we are within all these different growths that are just mushrooming and nobody knows how to reach. It's a waste of resources, simply. Thank you.
Any response?
Yeah, thank you very much for raising this issue. Actually, I'm Dr. Halima Al-Sabah from Abu Dhabi University, specialized in public health and nutrition. My suggestion here is to have like a platform or a database for all the journals that can publish in Arab countries, because we don't know about most of these journals and which ones also they are in Scopus Index or Google Scholar, for example. In order to have this platform or this link and can be distributed to all Arab countries, then it can be also categorized into the field of the study. For example, I am in health and public health and nutrition. Instead of searching for other journals in the world, then I can go to our Arab countries journal. Then I can pick the journal that is suitable for our field in health and the nutrition. Then I can go for that, because the requirements now also for all universities to get the promotion to have also Scopus Index articles. And if it is not a Scopus Index, then there is a problem. But if we have all the list of all the journals, yes, and categorize according to the field, then it will be easy for us also to search for that and to publish in these journals. Then I can go, for example, instead of going to publish in anywhere in European journals or in African journals, no, I can go and publish in our Arab journals. Okay, so this is my recommendation. Thank you so much.
So thank you. Let's continue the round. Then we'll give the final question, answer all questions by the panelists. So let's start by you.
Thank you very much, Khalid Al-Ali,
You have been patient.
from Ministry of Education, Qatar. I think we are getting so close, and the discussion is really rich, because what I see is that there are initiatives, but unfortunately, those initiatives are scattered in different places. And sometimes it's unknown for other Arab countries, like the Arabic Journal, where, just was mentioned that there is a list for the Arab journals and like this. So therefore, I think, what is needed right now, we have to think of an umbrella, whether it's an organization or it's a state or it's something that can cover this. And we start step by steps. That organization should host those different initiatives. And today, with the use of AI, it's very easy to select an answer. If you enter using the AI, then we avoid redundancy, we avoid repetition, we avoid all these things once this done. But the big question is how to find that umbrella and who's going to be, for that. I guess if we find it, then we can join the initiative in Egypt, the initiative in Lebanon, and the initiative in the Gulfs all together. And automatically with AI, it will remove any redundancy. And with time, it will become bigger and added, for example, open resource other than journals and all other things that we can have access through the cloud. Thank you very much.
Well, that's what we are working with finding this. So this is our task, actually.
And just a quick answer from my side on.
Can we have also, when you finish, last question there, please.
So here we are today discussing these issues. So the whole idea behind the forum is to be able to have that central piece to share ideas, raise awareness, and to announce different initiatives across the region. So from our side as an organization working within the region, by enabling and by fostering all the conversations, this event, community events, is to give that platform for all of these ideas to come together.
One last question there, please. Please.
Hello, everybody. Just an elaboration. This is Dr. Rabab Al-Mugawi from RCSI Bahrain. Thank you so much for all your contribution. I totally agree with my colleagues. I just want to add something here. I like what Professor Stini shared with us about the mapping idea. So the first step, from my point of view, is to do or to conduct like a mapping and need analysis. And this can be adopted by certain entities, like, for example, the UNESCO can have this initiative, and also create an action research group from different countries in the MENA region that can represent the countries and these like educational entities to conduct an action research and to do the mapping and the need analysis. And from that point, if you have like a good stand and good basis, then you can share it with those people in authority and management in different regions, because you have these like valid reasons and prove, so you can like convince others of your initiatives and of your view. And after that, I would like also to say that there is like an initiative done like for Arabic language by the Arabic Language Union, International Union, to establish an encyclopedia. And this encyclopedia has most of the like famous researchers and educators from all over the world that are, let's say here in terms of Arabic language, that are like interested in like or conducting like Arabic language and language research. The same thing can be done for other all fields of sciences in the MENA region or worldwide. And that also can be adopted by certain entities like the UNESCO or any entities. So they can establish these like encyclopedia, and we have like the bio, for example, for each researcher. Once you click, you can see everything about the researcher bio, for example, publication, background, and then some people also can be, like another group can do the matching for the collaboration to help people facilitate their collaboration and research between different regions. So that's like a great project, but step by step can be done through what I just like previously said here, to start with the mapping and the need analysis, then like meeting with those people and of course here in charge or in authority. Nothing is, like to myself, no dreams are impossible. Things can be done by having these like first step. So we ensure that we don't have duplicate work, because I know that in each region they have like great initiatives and doing that. Another point that, let's say here, an additional point or last one. Yeah, this is only the last point, because I will be presenting tomorrow, inshallah, and I will elaborate about it. Just here about the idea or the importance of having like campaigns, for example, to raise the awareness of the transparency of sharing knowledge in the MENA region, the Arab region. This is what we need, like to build the education of sharing, so that you can show them the gains and the benefits of like sharing open access research and the credits that they will get for them and for their own countries and regions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Last question. It has to be the last question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of the time. I'll be very, very brief. I'm Batul Marzouk, representing Open Science Community Saudi Arabia, which is a grassroots initiative. My question is very, very unrelated to the discussion that's going on. I am very interested about bottom-up initiative, and you mentioned, Professor Shami, very, very interesting point that what we should be working on is mostly about culture change, not about like tools and infrastructure. I'm just very curious about your thoughts, why researchers in the region are really very, very competitive. They're very, very conscious of sharing. Is it something to do with how we incentivize researchers? Like researchers in the region not incentivized actually for sharing data, for doing anything around open science practices, pre-printing, or even being transparent or reproducible when it comes to research. Do you think the way that we incentivize research in the region, we actually advocating for them to be against and doing everything against open science practices? Yeah, that's pretty much me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Batul, again. So can we have 1 minute for the panelists to comment and for the way to conclude the session? Dr. Amr.
Yes, well, please, first I would like to thank you, Dr. Yusuf, and thank the organizers for this opportunity actually to have such, this is one of the very important things which we can do for the awareness, at least for the people, about open science. The second thing is that, we need to unify our efforts. I agree completely with what have said that ministers, administrators have a great role, actually, and a principal role in this matter. But we need the NGOs, ministers, universities, institutes to work together. We need to unify our effort to achieve what we want from Open Science Initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like say something about regulations. Old regulations doesn't allow open science rules. So we have to update regulations, old regulations, especially in terms of copyrights and PI. And this is the first point. Second, everybody here says that the same thing about open science. We are okay that we have a lot of things to do in terms of open science in our universities, in our countries. So let's push together in the same direction to have a structure, a new structure, or an organization that it will be in charge of capacity building in terms of open science, because the awareness about open science is very important. This is a new way of thinking in the university. We have to change the mindset of researchers and professors to share their resources. It is not very easy. It is not very easy to convince researchers and professors to share their courses or their publications. So we have a lot of work in the basics level in terms of capacity building program with universities and research centers. And I think that our organization and the organization of Arab universities and some other universities can be in charge of this capacity building actions. Other organizations can take in charge other aspects of open science, especially the technical aspects, especially cloud systems, sharing infrastructures, sharing best practices. This is a very huge folder that every association or every organization can have a role in this direction. So we have to push together in the same direction and coordinate our efforts to achieve this goal. Thank you very much for this kind invitation, and again, thank you for the organizers for this very high-level forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, we are struggling here because it's very cold here. That's why I was to Emily that it's very cold. It's nothing else, actually. It's not about the interventions. Dr. Sine from Lebanon, from Federation of Arab Social Sciences, please. Your last comment, 1 minute or maybe 1.5 minutes. I agree with you already.
No, thank you very much. So just to say, in the chat, I put the address of the Dataverse address. So for anyone who wants to look at our databases, just not to disappoint anyone, I should clarify that the database on universities is comprehensive. The other databases focus on social sciences and humanities. So journals are social sciences and humanities journals, but please come and look at our Dataverse. I also shared my email because there was a request for my email in the chat, and I put it, and I welcome any questions or suggestions on email. I wanted to make just 2 points in relation to some of the questions. One about why researchers are reluctant to share and collaborate and so on and so forth. And that's true and not true at the same time. So I think very briefly, the pie is so small that we are all competing over a very small pie. And this does not incentivize us to share and to collaborate. It incentivizes us to compete. And, you know, we could talk about this for hours, obviously. But also, and this is not a subject that has come up, is that there aren't mechanisms to protect researchers in cases of plagiarism or people stealing each other's data or publishing each other's work and so on. We have no mechanisms to protect other than going to the courts as a private citizen. So again, I would say the importance of associations and sort of intellectual property regulations and so on are very much lacking in our country. So if I share my data, I have, you know, no control over or no recourse in case my data is used in ways that I don't approve of. So just, you know, again, big issues that need a lot of discussion. And finally, I would say that, you know, we see a lot of enthusiasm in this forum, in this room. We've sensed the same kind of enthusiasm. We've conducted about 15 trainings on data management and data sharing. And we do these through open calls for applications, and we get a huge number of applications. And the people who join these training workshops are very enthusiastic. So there is enthusiasm, there is a willingness to engage in this. And so I hope that F.O.R.M and others, you know, just capitalize on this, build on this, because I think there is a lot of eagerness. And so the eagerness needs organization, as many have said, a way of harnessing this energy and harnessing this eagerness to, you know, to produce sort of tangible outcomes. And thank you again for inviting me. I've very much enjoyed this session. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I guess special thanks and to our panelists. So please thank them with me. And let me hand the floor to the organizers now. Please, thank you for giving us the session.